Here's the new game I just came up with. This one's called Walk the Plank, and the kids absolutely love this game. One of the kids said it was his favorite new game. This is for grades 5 to 8. You'll need two mats, two benches, two hula hoops, and dodgeballs. I also put a disclaimer here that if you don't like dodgeball games, then just don't play this game. Or if you thought about it, this game could actually be modified to be a tag game instead. So that's up to you. I'll leave that up to you if you want to think about it. I'm not going to give away how to make this a tag game. So here's the lines that you're going to use. You're going to use a center line and some end lines. You're going to place down benches. Those benches are going to be the planks that the students will have to walk down, like on a ship. You know, they walk and then they jump into water. Well, instead of water, we're going to use the mats, some exercise mats that they're going to jump onto. Then you're going to place down some hula hoops. Now, those are going to be some throwing areas. So you can place poly spots if you don't have hula hoops or whatever, if you want to use those instead. But talk about that in a second. And then you'll have your players, so one team against the other on their own half of the gym, and use whatever dodgeball rules you normally use. So you throw in the dodgeballs here, and you can have it where waist down or shoulders down, or if you catch a ball that's thrown at you, then the person who threw it has to go to the other side. So we'll look at the specific rules for Walk the Plank though. So what happens in this game? We'll see that the game's going, and a yellow player got hit. So that yellow player will then go to the opposite side, over on the green team side, into that zone on the end. And the first player hit from each team will actually become a thrower. So they'll go into the hula hoop and in the throwing zone. But of course they'll want a ball. So, well, there's one right there. If there wasn't a ball nearby, they have to wait until a ball rolls into that zone. They can't go into the area where those green players are. That yellow player waits. And of course the balls will roll there anyways. It's not a problem. And meanwhile, as that player was waiting as a thrower, then somebody else from the yellow team got hit, and they are now going to walk the plank. So that second player, or third, or fourth, or whatever, they'll be the walkers down the plank. So we see the player walking. Now at this point, when the player's at the end, they're going to make a jump at the same time the thrower is going to throw the ball, and see if they can catch it before landing or on landing. And that's the part that the kids had a lot of fun doing. So the walking the plank and trying that jump and catching it. So it's good communication. Now that was a successful catch. So what happens is the thrower, who was there the longest, gets to go back to their team. They're saved. And then the game continues. Well, the game, of course, is always continuing on. The person who caught it is then a thrower. They have to be a thrower before they can go back. Of course, meanwhile, the game would continue on, and usually there's players that are getting hit and going to the plank. So there's always going to be a thrower and always people that are walking the plank, and it would continue on like that. So that's basically the idea. Now we're going to fast forward a little bit. So later on in the game, we see that the yellow team isn't doing so good. They have a lot of players on the plank. And what's been happening is the thrower's been trying to throw the ball, and as they catch it, well, they're not quite successful. So anytime that happens, if they've jumped and missed, then the player who jumped has to go to the back of the plank, and the thrower has to keep trying to throw. Now, of course, if it's really not working well for you, then you can switch things up. We saw, meanwhile, the yellow player, the last one, got hit. And so that player then goes to the plank, and there's nobody left on the yellow team, so the round would end, and you would start a new round. But sometimes the rounds could just go on, and that's the great part, is it's always back and forth. And like I said, the kids had a lot of fun doing this. The only thing is just be careful. Tell them to be careful on the bench. If there's only two people on the bench, maybe there can be the one sitting on the one end so it doesn't fall or anything like that. Of course, that depends on the quality of bench you have. But hope you've enjoyed this game, and if you've enjoyed it, please head to physedgames.com for more games.